Hello, in this video I'll be explaining how to use DocScanFx's electronics forms feature. The first thing we should do is open up your INI file and ensure that the allow convert image to forms is equal to true under your comment section. This is what lets end users be able to actually create forms and edit existing ones. For the particular mode that we'll be working in, the other option we need to make sure is enabled is the source option forms equals true. You can see here that it's set to false right now. I'll set it to true, and that will ensure that there's a button for working with the forms. So we'll save the INI file, and now we'll launch into the DocScan program. We'll select a mode. In this case, I'm going to choose ultrasound today. Click select. Just choose any patient, click next. And at this point, you'd want to scan in your paper document form, or if you already had an electronic image file version of the form, you would use import. I'm going to use the import function. Here's this worksheet that I want to turn into an electronic form. Now, because I enabled that all allow convert image to form equals to true option in our INI file, there's now a right-click option here that says convert to form. So I'll click on that. I'm prompted to give the form a name. I'm just going to call it test form and click on save. At this point, we don't need this image on this patient exam anymore, so I'm just going to click on delete. Now when we click on forms, we can see our test form is down here. Now there's 3 other forms in here that come stock with the program when you first install it. We'll work with this test form. Normally when end users would click on form, they would just left click on the form they wanted to insert in. In this case, if I click that, the form will just immediately insert into the document because there are no fields right now for the end user to fill out. So I'm going to delete this and go back to forms. And in order to add some fields into the form, I'm going to right click on the form and choose Edit Form Template. A couple windows will open up when we do this. Actually going to scoot this over a little bit and hide that window behind it. So our actual scanned in form is shown here, and then there's a toolbox off to the side that we can choose what kind of a field we want to enter in on the form. You can choose unchecked or checked boxes. You can choose one single line of text where someone would type, a multi-line entry of text where someone could type like a long comment section, or we can have drop-down lists. We can also choose whether the text for any of these or the checkbox size is small, medium, or large, whether the particular option is a read-only field or whether it's required. We can choose the font as well that it shows up on the screen. So for right now, I'm going to start with the text, one line, and I'm going to click on Add. You notice when I do that the cursor jumps over onto the form, and I'm actually trapped on the form right now. I can't get the cursor out of this box. It's wanting me to draw where I want this form field element to appear. I can right-click at any time or hit the escape key, and I'm immediately back to being able to use my cursor anywhere I want. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to click on Add, turns to the crosshairs, and I'm going to choose that I want this history line right here to be a spot where I want to put some text. Now you notice that it puts some of this fake Latin text in here. That's just to give you an idea where the actual text will show up on the form in relationship to the line that's behind it or whatever sort of image is on the page. I'll show you how to move fields in just a moment. Let's add a few more. I'm going to do one for chief complaint, but I know that most of the time that's going to come in as the reason for exam DICOM field. So I'm going to leave this on text one line, and I'm going to show you how to add a macro. If you right click on this, I can come down and choose exam reason, and it puts this double curly bracketed exam reason in here. This will be replaced with the text from the DICOM tag that has the reason for exam that was obtained either from doing the archive query or the modality work list query. So now when I click on Add, it does the same thing and lets me draw some kind of field in here where I want the location to be. And you'll see that it just shows exam reason. We know that's going to get replaced later from the exam. I also want to add in the patient name, the date, and the physician who ordered the exam. Now these 3 fields, I'm going to consider those that the end user isn't going to need to change them. Those are read-only fields that come across to the DICOM data. So for this particular instance, I'm going to choose read-only. I'm going to erase the text that's right here, and I'm going to add in, I right-clicked on field text, I'm going to add in patient name and click on Add, and I'll add the patient name in right here. And I'll erase this, and I will choose Date, Exam Date, Add. And I'll add the exam date in there. And let's do the same thing with the physician name. Add. And we'll scroll that across to right here and add the physician name in. And you see that these things aren't lining up exactly how we might want them. So if I click on Move, again the cursor becomes trapped on the form. A right click or the escape key will release it again. And I can click on any of these fields and realign them. Get them set up. You'll notice that I'm not aligning the bottom of the box. I'm aligning the text with where that line will be behind it, because none of the boxes will show up when the image is actually generated. Now, I didn't make the chief complaint field be read-only because I want the end user to be able to modify that field in case there is some extra information that they'd want to add to it. Once I'm happy with where all those are at, I'm just going to right-click. Now my cursor is free to go click on something else. One other thing I want to show is that if you right-click on Add, there's some different pixel values in here. This is called the Pixel Snap Grid, and right now it defaults to 2 pixels. And what that does is there's an invisible grid that snaps the form elements onto the screen every 2 pixels. So if you needed to line up a bunch of boxes, this would help you make sure that the boxes were lining up in the right location. So I'm going to put it on 4 for right now. And I'm going to choose an unchecked box, and I want it to be a large box. And I'm going to click on Add. And for checkboxes, you don't need to draw anything. You can just click. I'll click on Add. I'll do Abnormal, Add, Normal, Add. We'll just put a few of these in. And let me show you. If you wanted to do a multi-line area where someone could type a lot of text in, I'm going to choose this text multi-line and choose small. I'm going to do Add, and I'm just going to draw a box in this area right here. And that's where there will be a spot that somebody can type some more comments. In addition, there's a large comment section down at the bottom of this form. I'm going to use a little bit bigger text down here. Choose Add again. And I'm going to draw a box down here. And you'll see that it's showing the size of the text that would come in. And then the sonographer's initials section, let's do a drop-down list there. And let's just make up a few different sonographer's initials. When you do a drop-down list, you just want to have each of the different choices show up on a separate line. And we'll do that for enough. And we're also going to make this one be required. Add. You notice that it says select choice here. Now that ended up being too big. I actually had wanted to choose small. So the option here is that we could delete this and put it in again, or every one of these elements has a right-click menu that you can get into. If you right-click on it and choose Properties, a box will pop up with all the different values that are associated with this field. So I want to change it to small, and maybe I forgot that I wanted to add one more in here. Tip is a good one to fill out. This is the hover tip that would show up if you had your cursor hovering over the top of that particular field. These particular 2 fields at the top are form properties. These are common to all the form elements. And at the moment, these 2 fields aren't used for anything, along with this easy form question and the notes and the field property name. None of those fields right now are actually used in this version of DocScanFx. There's a future feature that's coming, and those will be used more. However, the name field can be handy, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'm going to fill that out with initials, and then the form name, we're just going to call this a KUB ultrasound worksheet. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Save, and then you'll see that the size of the text here had changed on the fly when I did that. In addition, you'll see that it also plugs in a few of the choices, just as many as it could fit into the label, and select choices letting you know that it's a drop-down along with the color of this box being yellow. So let's go ahead and move that into a little bit better position. And I will right-click to exit out of there. I'm not going to do the whole form. I actually have this form completed already, and I'll show you that in a moment. But these form fields can be tabbed through by the end user. And if you had done these fields out of order that you normally would tab through them, you can reorder all of the fields. If I click on Reorder, you'll see that all of the text is replaced with some numbers, and it's showing you what number tab entry that would be. So right now it's going to start here, here. It actually skips any rose-colored fields, so it would skip those three, and then it would jump to these. It would go to comments, down to this comments, and over to the sonographer's initials. So if you want to reorder anything, you'd actually just go back to the first item that you wanted to change. Let's pretend that this is all correct up here, and that the first one that's wrong is this one. When I click on this, all the ones after that number, the number before it, are erased, and now we can just click down the line and say, well, I want it to go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm just clicking 13 and 14. And again, to exit, I either hit escape or I right click, and I'm out of reordering. We can click on reorder if we just kind of want to see or double check the order of things. Maybe we do want to change this, and we want to make this one be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's how we reorder the existing fields. So I'm going to go ahead and click exit, and you can save as you're working your way along, just in order to make sure if something happens that you haven't lost your work. In fact, I'm going to click save now, and let's go browse over to where these files are actually being stored at. So if we look to the installation directory, in this case it's the program files x86 DocScanFx folder, and go to resources, forms. These are different forms. You'll find that there's a text file alongside of an image file, and the base name of it is the same. So there's a pair of files that make up the templates. Here's the test form. That's what I named it earlier, the JPEG image file. And now here's the test form.txt. It's actually an XML file. Let's take a look at this. You'll see here is that form name when we went into the properties of the field earlier and we named it KUB ultrasound worksheet. So I said that it was handy that you might want to fill that out. Later, if you have to work with, you can go and make some changes in the XML file if you want in order to adjust things. This helps you identify what form that you're in. And also when you name the individual fields, that would show up between these name tags in the XML. But let's go ahead and exit out of here for now. So we're just going to click on save. And when you click on exit, it actually gives you a chance to save it again. Discard only discards changes since the last time you saved. So I'm going to click on save. And now we're back to DocScanFx. So if I click on forms, and if I were to click on this test form, here's that form being presented to the end user to fill out. And you'll see that the actual height of the document has a scroll bar on it. This is adjustable in the INI file. It's just done this way in order to make sure it fits the screen settings that you might have for an end user. But we can see that the patient, date, and physician names were all filled in. The chief complaint was filled in. In this case, it's something odd. We can say right upper quadrant pain, and that there was no history. And you can see I can just tab right through the various fields. Of course, I haven't lined these all up very well. Then when I get to the no comments, this one's required. It has a little asterisk next to it. I would pick initials and click on save. And then immediately that form is brought into DocScanFx. We can click on zoom here if we wanted to see a little bit better. But you can see there's no rectangles or anything, just the text has been added. In this case, you can see that that one was added a little bit low since the bottom of the letters are getting cut off. Okay, now say that we needed to edit this form after we see that something needed to be changed about it. You can click on revert. The form will come back up with all of the things that we had typed in earlier. You see that there's the initials that we checked, the same comment down below, but we forgot to check these checkboxes. So we'll go ahead and check all of those. And let's throw a comment in here. And you don't have to come down to the bottom and click on save. You actually can just click this X. And this dialog box comes up if you do that, and we click on save. And you can see the checkboxes all get checked in this case. But let's go ahead and delete this. I'll show you what the actual finished version of that form looks like because I have it right here. So let's edit this one. You can see in this case it's similar to before, but we have medium-sized checkboxes for the normal and abnormals. We've added in fields for all the different centimeter dimensions for the different portions of the kidneys. And we've got comment fields to be filled out in all the different locations. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here, tell it to discard any changes, but let's go ahead and try using that form. Here it is again, just like before. We can go through and mark boxes, add comments, say anything that we need. Click on save. Oh, forgot to do this required field under the select choice for the initials. So let's go ahead and pick some initials. Click save. Now we have the form all filled out. Did want to comment, I've commented on this before in other videos, that there is an option that you can click on edit at this point. If you were needing to draw on this form, you can click on edit, and if you right click, you've got options for all sorts of different paint size brushes and colors, and you can even insert some ad hoc text if you needed to type some really big thing at the top of this. Come here and pick like 72 size font, and then we can choose that we want to add some text. We're just going to put it right here, and we're going to type stat or something like that. And it would throw that text on the screen, and then when we close this, you can see that that's updated up there in the corner. So that's just sort of an ad hoc way that you can draw. Some of these other forms in here have diagrams, and you can use the drawing tool in order to show placking or whatever you need to do in the particular form. And then even throw in some ad hoc text if it wasn't designed into the form layout. For more details on how to use the features of the electronic forms in DocScanFx, go to support.DocScanFx.com and reference the electronic form section, and there's an article there that describes everything we've gone over in this video and more. Thank you very much.